the department all the medical records that I had?
That was the information I was given, correct.
And what was the response to that offer?
The department declined the offer and wanted a doctor's note specifically outlining your medical condition and limitations.
But if I could provide all my medical records up to this point, and the fact that I was saying I didn't have a doctor at the time, what could I possibly have done in hindsight that would have satisfied you guys?
Objection.
Overruled. You can answer.
The process is we need a doctor's note to move forward with an accommodation.
But you had a doctor's note, didn't you?
No,
You had a doctor, whatever his name is, from Barry Internal Medicine, didn't you?
yes.
So why wasn't that sufficient? Why did you actually have to talk to him in lieu of me finding some other doctor out in the street to put on paper, once again, the same facts?
Because in your accommodation request, you cited that you had mobility issues, and that's what we needed clarification on. We needed a doctor to state that you couldn't, what distance you couldn't walk, because you mentioned that you could not walk a certain amount of distance.
Are you aware on the motor vehicle form, it specifically asks for the doctor to certify precisely what you just said, that you can't walk more than 200 feet without stopping?
Objection.
What's the objection?
It's mischaracterizing the document.
Well, overruled, you can redirect on it. Go ahead.
Can you repeat it? I'm sorry.
Are you aware, the motor vehicle form, that the doctor from Barry Internal Medicine Group, as part of the process motor vehicles in Vermont uses, one of the items in that certification to get the handicap placard or plate, one must have the doctor certify in writing that the person can't walk more than 200 feet without stopping to rest.
Are you asking if I saw that on the form?
Correct.
I don't remember seeing it on the form.
I asked that the form again be shown to the witness.
I don't know what exhibit that is.
Defendant's exhibit P currently.
8?
P.
P. Do you have that, Laura?
Thank you.
You want to direct her to some particular place on that, Mr. Nolen?
Do you see reference to 200 feet on that form?
I'm looking.
Do you know which page it's on? Allegedly.
The boxes that are checked are arthritis and diabetes, and there's a check that says permanent disabilities specified below. And prognosis for deterioration, there's a box that says check likely. The condition, there's no reasonable medical grounds to limit driving privileges. The patient's conditions is irreversible. And
Excuse me, can I stop you right there? What were those words?
the patient's condition is irreversible.
And to you, what does the word irreversible mean?
That you can't change it.
Thank you. And go on.
And then it refers to irreversible ambulatory disability. Patient's condition is totally stable, it is checked no.
And what does that mean in terms of stability? If it's irreversible and it's not stable, what could somebody reasonably draw in terms of a conclusion that that would be?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your Honor,
The jury can interpret those words just as well as she can, okay?
Well, I think I have the right to ask the witness what her state of mind was when
That's not what you asked her.
when you read that form, what did you consider those terms to be?
Well, when I reviewed this form, I was looking for your doctor so I could contact your doctor.
But you already testified that all you wanted me to do was get out another piece of paper that said the same thing.
Objection.
Sustained. Mr. Nolan, the 5 minutes that I told you about at the bench is just about up. You want to finish up with her?
Did you ever get any messages that I attempted to try to reach you?
No.
Did you normally have any kind of contact when somebody files a request for reasonable accommodation?
If they contact me, yes.
So how would I know, assuming I didn't get those 2 letters, that you were the person that basically I was supposed to contact or that was involved peripherally or whatever with this request?
Overruled.
Donna Pratt would have told you that I was the ADA site coordinator.
Do you have any correspondence or any kind of notes in the record that she ever told me that? That in other words, she might have said something to the effect, hey, contact you, your name, and this is her telephone number. If you have any questions as to why basically she doesn't want to accept this stuff.
Not that I recall, no.
Okay. Your Honor, I've got this exhibit.
We'll take it back.
Okay.
Ms. Leclerc, could you bring it back up?
I've got no further questions at this point.
Mr. Groff? Okay, you're all done, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Here you go. Your next witness.
Thank you.
Barbara.
Come on up. Good afternoon.
You stand over there and raise your right hand, sir. You solemnly swear that the evidence that you should give relative to cause and now consideration will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth on the claims and evidence there.
Yes.
Take a seat, sir.
Dick, can you just hit the sound for a second? Hit the sound for a second. Yeah. Wait.
Sir, you just indicated you have a hearing issue. We have some fancy equipment for you to do this if you like.
I think if I need you're okay.
Okay, great. All right, that's fine. But if you need something better, let us know.
Just an amplifier.
Got an ESP, I was just going to ask him.
We have another set.
device or hearing device.
Okay, Mr. Groff, go ahead.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Robert Ray,
Can you spell your last name?
R-E-A.
And what is where do you work?
I work for the Department of Buildings and General Services for the state of Vermont, and I'm the Director of Facilities and Operations for the East Region, which is Newport to Brattleboro.
Excuse me, I didn't hear that area.
Pardon me?
I didn't hear the area.
He said Newport to Brattleboro.
I got a slight hearing problem too.
Newport to Brattleboro includes Montpelier and Barry.
So where do you cut off?
Okay, Mr. Nolan, you don't get to ask questions right now. You'll get your chance. Go ahead.
And what are your duties in that position?
I basically oversee the operations of the buildings department. We handle the design and construction of new facilities. We maintain historic sites. We also maintain existing facilities, custodial services, maintenance services. We have a staff of architects and engineers. and project managers.
And what is your training and education?
I'm a civil engineer, and I also worked as a construction superintendent for years, and a principal at a school prior to coming to the state of Vermont in 1989.
Thank you. And so you're, in your role, you have supervision of the department's duties with respect to the pavilion building and the courthouse in Barry, is that right?
That is correct.
And were you involved in some renovation, the most recent renovation projects at those two buildings?
Yes.
And could you, well, let's take them one at a time. Tell us about the most recent project.
Okay, the most recent project at the pavilion involved the construction of an accessible ramp from the lower parking lot behind the Thrush Tavern up to the pavilion entrance off of the Governor Davis entrance. And that occurred in 2008.
And when was the building itself built?
The pavilion entrance was built, the addition was built in 1988, and that connected the old building to the library and to 111 State Street.
Okay. So prior to the project in 2007 and 2008, what was the parking situation at the pavilion building in terms of accessible parking?
Okay. Prior to 9/11 in 2001, there were accessible spaces located directly behind, actually on the north side of the pavilion, down near the north entrance doors. If you're familiar with that area, that is now, the public does not have access to that area. There is a guardhouse and there is a gate that goes across the entrance. But if you were to go through the gate and make a left, you would go down a fairly steep ramp to two spaces immediately ahead. They're now being used by the governor's security staff. Those were the handicapped spaces, or the accessible spaces. After 9/11, security was quite an issue, and they provided the guardhouse and the gate, and we moved the spaces up to the top of the hill at the top of Governor Davis Avenue. Those spaces were there for quite a few years until in 2007, there was a meeting in Montpelier, and some federal employees came to the state, and they informed us that they did not believe the Governor Davis sidewalk met accessibility guidelines. They exceeded the 1 in 12 or the 1 in 20. With 1 in 12, you need railings. With 1 in 20, you do not need railings. That's 1 foot for every 20 feet. 1 foot of rise for every 20 feet. So
there you're talking about the steepness of
the steepness of the road. So at that point in time, we received a directive from the federal government to make the improvements. We immediately proceeded with one of our in-house architects, John Ostrom, registered architect, to design a ramp coming out of the parking lot up to the pavilion. And that work was concluded in 2008. The spring of 2008, the ramp was ready to be used. In addition to that work, we realized that once they got across the street to the sidewalk, the entrance to the pavilion at times was difficult, as it is in Vermont, to keep clean of snow and ice. And so we decided to put a heated piping underneath brick pavers, so the snow never stays there. It's always wet during the wintertime. So that was also part of the work that was done.
Great. Let's pause there and see where I can put this.
Well, you need him to identify it first anyway.
Could you identify this?
Yes, this is a
I'm sorry, what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit UU. Go ahead.
this is a site plan of Governor Davis Avenue. It also shows which direction should I?
Tell us what it is first, and then.
Okay, here's a site plan showing the Governor Davis Avenue entrance to the pavilion. It also shows the parking areas behind the Thrush Tavern It also shows where the original handicap parking used to be at the top of Governor Davis. And it identifies the distance from those areas.
Let's leave it there.
Your Honor, I can't see what he's pointing to.
He'll show you. He wasn't pointing to anything. He was just generally describing it. Let's take a look at it.
Again, he looked like he was pointing to something,
Well,
and I couldn't see, I don't think the jurors could see.
they weren't supposed to because it's not in evidence yet. Okay.
I move the admission of the.
So, any objection to it being in evidence? So he can point it out to the jurors. And you.
Other than the diagram itself, I would object to anything else other than the diagram itself.
I'm not sure.
Any other testimony that he said prior to this thing be admitted and prior to seeing what he's talking about?
Okay, overruled, and it will be admitted.
Thank you.
Or you want to mark that quickly for me?
Then can I have Your Honor strike the testimony prior to it being,
No, that's the part I'm overruling your objection on that.
okay?
He didn't say much of anything. Not to insult you, sir. To me. Probably that corner closest to the jury is best. And if you can angle it so Mr. Nolen can also see it, and the witness can get
Now I
out of
can't
the
see,
chair.
you know, you go that way a little bit more. That's it.
Can the jury see it now?
Everyone see that? Okay. So, could you just orient us on this picture? Where is the pavilion?
The pavilion building is right here. This is the Governor Davis Avenue entrance to the parking lot behind the Thrush. Currently, there is a ramp that goes down. State employees make a left into here, and also handicap parking is down here, and the parking spaces, handicap parking spaces are against the concrete wall, retaining wall along Governor Davis Avenue.
And these three spots there are?
They are currently being used by the treasurer's office. These were the spaces that we had earmarked before they used these two spaces, and after 9/11, we moved the parking outside the secure perimeter of the State House and Pavilion. These were the three spaces. They were two at the time. There are currently three spaces being used by the Treasurer's Department, or Treasurer's Office. This is the area that the federal government identified as being too steep. It exceeded the accessibility standards. So that's when we had to come over and come up with some options. One option we had looked at was possibly putting parallel parking right in here. This is the garage where the governor parks. There's also an exhaust right here, and we have an intake shack for the whole pavilion right here. We were very concerned that parking in here, there were a series of large trees too. We felt it was too close to the pavilion, could raise some security issues. It also did not provide enough area to exit a van or a car. You would exit directly into oncoming traffic, so we felt that that was not a good option. This was the best option, and it was designed to comply with ADA standards, and it does. The steepest standard you're allowed is 8.3% gradient. Ours is just over 7% at the steepest.
Excuse me, I didn't hear that last part.
ADA standards allow 1 foot in 12 feet, which is 8.3% gradient, and our highest, the steepest point is just over 7%. So we comply there. It goes from 5.5 to 7.2%. And so we also identify on this, you see these dark lines. We actually went out and measured the distance. From up here, it was 220 feet down to the pavilion entrance. From the center of this last handicap spot, we have 231 feet up the ramp to the door, so there's not a significant distance difference.
And So this design that was proposed, I take it was approved.
Yes,
This project was, where do you go from there in terms of building?
I'm sorry.
Was this bid, did the state accept bids?
Yes, we did accept bids, and the lowest bidder was Professional Construction Incorporated, PCI.
Excuse me, I can.
Okay, I don't know that that's crucial.
Okay.
I believe it is, Your Honor. Could I just
Well,
hear-
he asked the question, Mr. Gross, maybe it's in.
I just couldn't hear what he said in terms of the name of the construction company.
The
Go ahead.
company was PCI, Professional Construction Incorporated.
Okay?
They were the low bidder.
Well, let's, did you become aware of a report by Disability Rights Vermont, ADA compliance survey with respect to this parking area?
Actually, I saw that report approximately 2 months ago. I have a copy of it here with me. As soon as we looked at it and reviewed it, we went over and looked at the parking lot, and granted, the report, I believe, was dated November 2013, so at that point in time, some of the issues that were raised in there, in fact, most of the issues we could not address because it involved paving, striping, painting, things like that. And with the weather, we just could not do anything until the weather cleared up. We have already begun to take steps to address the issues in this parking lot. We did, at the end of last year, address the issue relative to the lift from the access to the ramp. The greatest
Your
difference.
Honor, I'm having, maybe I need one of these here.
Well, we've got another one, why don't you get it out?
I couldn't hear you say.
Okay.
When,
I think I'm going to interject also. He's sort of giving us a long narrative. I think it would be more helpful if you asked us specific questions, and we'd all follow it a little bit better, so maybe we'll control that.
The Disability Rights Report identified an issue of a lift between the ramp and surface. Was that correct?
That is correct. However, we were made aware of that lip last summer, last fall, and we did take care of that. We went in, we put a shim coat of paving in. That was August, September of last year, prior to me seeing a copy of that report. We were made aware of an issue of that lip, so we went down, we took care of that.
I'm still having problems. I need that device.
Okay. Do we have it? If you weren't so neat and didn't put it away so carefully, it'd be easier to get out.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you saying that something has to be messy in order to be able to find it?
We all have our own styles, that's all I'm saying.
Okay. That.
This one unfortunately is not wireless, so he's got to attach it to something. Right? Oh, it is. Oh, it is. Okay, I thought it was that other one.
All right.
Great.
All right, you're gonna need to test that out, sir, and see if that's gonna work for you.
Is that better, Mr. Nolan?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Groff.
I think you're describing the repairs that have been done already.
Yes. Last year, we had several areas within the parking lot that had failed. Some of the catch basins had started to fail. We went in and we did some major repairs within the parking lot. And as part of that work, we shimmed the area in front of the access ramp coming out of the parking area. And that basically eliminated that lift completely. I believe if you go down there and look at it today, you're 0 to 1/4 of an inch. And unfortunately in Vermont, we are constantly dealing with frost heaves, and that parking lot is prone to significant movement because of the rubble that's underneath that parking lot.
And I think you alluded to this earlier, but when can those kinds of problems with the pavement be addressed?
Okay. We felt we had addressed the lip issue last year, and we believe that that still is in good shape. The parking, all of the parking within the complex, and even statewide at state facilities, we feel we almost have to go in every year and restripe. And we plan to do that. We plan to commit to doing that by the end of May. All of that striping will be done. We do not plan to repave the parking lot. We plan to just keep it patched as we go on. As holes develop, we will patch it. We will monitor that area where the handicap parking is designated, and if we feel that it needs to be shimmed or patched, we will do that. But at this point in time, we plan to restripe it in accordance with the drawing that's there. We also plan to put new signs up. Just brought some samples.
Okay, let Mr. Groff look at them first. If you give them to us, you don't get them back, so.
I'm sorry?
You don't get them back if they go into evidence.
Oh, these are going up and buried, sorry.
Just
I
describe.
thought that might
Okay. I apologize.
be. You could give us a photocopy, but
Describe those.
Okay, reserved parking signs with the handicap symbol will be going above each space. In addition to that, we plan to put along Governor Davis Avenue 2 signs, one coming down from the upper portion to the parking lot and one coming up from State Street. 2 signs that designate handicap parking and state employees. Right now, it's somewhat confusing. There is no signage coming down from the upper parking area. There is some signage going up from State Street, but it is somewhat confusing. We plan to put new signs in. One sign that will indicate handicap parking, which can be used by the general public and state employees. Right now, that is not very clear.
So just to clarify, there is no, other than handicap parking, there is no parking for the general public at the pavilion.
That is correct.
The only parking for non-state employees is for handicap.
That's correct.
is that already in evidence, whatever you're...
It's not,
Okay.
well,
So don't be flashing it at the jury yet.
I was trying to catch up. Maybe I can, you want me to speak more to these or?
No, I won't, because basically it doesn't say when it was taken.
You already stipulated this. You did not.
But it's not,
It's fine, if you don't stipulate, you don't, he'll ask the witness about it.
Can you describe what this is?
Yes. That is a picture looking down from the upper portion.
excuse me again, Your Honor, I can't see what he's pointing to.
It's the one he just showed you. The jury isn't supposed to see it yet, okay?
All right.
Mr. Nolen, I need
Then-
to.
then-
Mr. Nolen, Mr. Groff just showed it to you, so please don't interrupt. Go ahead.
You're looking down from the Court Street direction, down Governor Davis Avenue. The pavilion is on the right-hand side. The access ramp from the lower parking lot is on the left-hand side. It shows a crosswalk with painted stripes that need to be redone. It shows the truncated domes, which are at each access point to the sidewalk and from the ramp. It also shows the Thrush Tavern on the left-hand side and access to the parking lot.
Thank you. Your Honor, I move to admit defendant's VP.
Any objection, Mr. Nolen, at that point?
Okay, can I see it again? Yeah, there's a difference. I'm going to object on the basis that the picture only depicts something very, very current, March of 2014. If I,
Okay, I guess you need the witness to clarify when that was taken and whether it's current or not.
When was the picture taken?
Approximately, I'd say 3 to 4 weeks ago.
And the picture as it is accurately depict the state of the, what it depicts today?
Yes.
in that, Your Honor, I'll consent to it.
All right. I'm sorry, what would the
It's VV.
VV will be admitted? If you could just have Lori mark it, please, so we don't lose track.
It was taken shortly after the snow had disappeared, which
Was that yesterday?
seemed to happen this year.
Before it came back. All right, so now can you just, again, tell us what it is?
Yes, that is a picture of the Governor Davis
Would you, we
Avenue
have a yardstick.
access to the
Hold on one second.
to the
Why don't you see if
pavilion.
that helps them
You
point?
can see the pavers down here. This is where the sidewalk, this is heated. This is the truncated dome leading from the crosswalk up to the sidewalk. As you can see, the markings are fairly faded. This is the truncated dome that goes to the access to the ramp that goes down to the parking lot, which exits just down here at the parking lot level.
Thank you. You alluded to this, but would you say that the degradation of the roads and of the striking, you see there, is typical of what happens in Vermont winter?
Yes, we actually, last year when we were paving, repairing the parking down here, we actually looked at this crosswalk, and it was still, I mean, this is the city's road here. This is not state property. We looked at this and we were willing to patch it if necessary, but the condition was not that bad. I can't say that now. It has deteriorated. I have spoken with the city and they are committed to work with us to have that repaired. They will cut out a section of this part, this paving, and redo the crosswalk, and that will be done by the end of May. So I've spoken with the assistant city manager.
Tell me what this is generally.
Okay. These are 3 photographs, one of which is this larger one that is shown here. The other one is a view looking up Governor Davis Avenue with a pavilion on the left-hand side, the parking area.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to anything other than what's necessary to admit that particular item as an exhibit.
Let me just ask,
Okay.
are you familiar with these photographs?
Yes, I am.
Do they accurately depict the area around the pavilion?
Yes.